It's in the corner over here.
Y'all want to come over here? That way I won't have to move the mic all the way.
Go over there.
There you go.
And we'll wait on Jeremy to give us the.
Do we want to do it this way?
Well, welcome everybody. And the first order of business before we start our meeting will be swearing in our two new board members. And we're glad to have you. Miss Felicia, if you'll do the honors today, we'll get started.
Okay, we have two oaths that you do. The first one is the constitutional oath, and then we have the statutory oath. So the first one says, you solemnly swear or affirm that you will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of this Commonwealth, and be faithful and true to the Commonwealth of Kentucky, so long as you continue to be a citizen thereof, and that you will faithfully execute to the best of your ability the office of school board member of the Estill County Board of Education according to law, and you solemnly swear or affirm that since the adoption of the present Constitution, you being a citizen of this state have not fought a duel with deadly weapons within the state nor out of it, nor have you sent or accepted a challenge to fight a duel with deadly weapons, nor have you acted as second in carrying a challenge, nor aided or assisted any person in this opinion, so help you God. Statutory oath. Being first duly sworn, you state that you are eligible under the law to serve as a member of the Estill County Board of Education, and that you will not, while serving as a member of such board, become interested directly or indirectly in any contract with or claim against the board, and that you will not in any way influence the hiring or appointment of district employees except the hiring of the superintendent of schools or school board attorney.
Congratulations, guys.
I'll say that. I asked about that one.
Yeah, with the duel.
Very accurate in a lot of situations.
Just so you know what you can do.
Thank you. Thank you.
What you signed.
All right, thank you.
Okay. We'll call the meeting to order. First, on the agenda, we need to elect a 2019 chairperson.
I make a motion that we keep Rhonda Hardy as our chair of this.
I second the motion. Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Okay. Okay, next on the agenda, we will need to elect a 2019 vice chair.
And I recommend that we keep Donna Isford as our vice chair.
And I second that motion. Any discussion? All in favor? Okay, moving right along. Next, we're going to elect our finance corporation officers.
Yeah, we don't want to get caught in a situation again with bond sales coming up in the spring for the Career Tech Center and all those things. We will make sure that we have our finance corporation officers, and I believe we need the office of president and vice president. Is that correct, Felicia, on that? So sometimes you let the board positions mirror those if you want to do that, or you can elect somebody different.
I make a motion that we keep Rhonda as the chair.
I second. Okay. Any discussion? All in favor? Okay.
And you'll need a vice president as well.
Okay. That was Donna, correct?
Our previous.
It was, Donna was this previous year, that is correct.
I recommend that we keep it the same, Donna Isford as the vice chair.
Okay. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I second the motion.
Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Okay. Okay, next on the agenda, we will need to set our 2019 meeting dates and times.
This is totally up to you all at the discretion of the board. I do think that the third week is is the best week for us because it allows us to get all of our finances in order. I can tell you that Mondays traditionally are a hard day to have a board meeting. But you know, if we have to, we can work around it. But we have been meeting on the third Thursday of the month at 6 p.m. You can continue that, or you can choose another day.
I make the motion that we just keep it as is
Okay.
with the third Thursday each month at 6.
Any discussion?
One. As far as at any situation, are we able to still change that at any given time for, like I'm saying, let's just say, I'll tell you what, reason I'm asking is my work schedule. I think I've pretty much got it worked out to where I can be here. Obviously later is better for me because I'm a second shift guy and I leave early. I'm all in favor for the 6 o'clock unless that, you know, something really gets in my way or whatever. I'm just asking, is it possible to change it at any given time?
If you do change the start times, it at that time does become a special called meeting.
Okay,
Anytime
gotcha.
once it's set, may or may not cause an issue.
Gotcha.
It probably would at some point if you were doing it on a consistent
Right,
basis
right.
because of the fact of open meetings and open records, which we're going to discuss here in just a second.
Okay.
It doesn't mean that, you know, we come up in May and we see that it's an issue and we move it to 7. The only thing it does do at that point in time, we have to give 24 hours notice if we're going to move it, and then it sets the agenda.
Okay.
Usually during a regular called meeting, anything the board wishes to discuss can be discussed. Anything that needs to be voted on can be voted on.
Gotcha.
But when it becomes a special called meeting, your agenda is set in concrete and you cannot bring up anything else. I think the board, I think we've been willing before. We've had to cancel a few meetings, and as long as we're talking about 1 or 2 a year. Last year,
That was pretty much
we
what I was
moved the
looking at.
February meeting last year because I went to a national conference that just happened to be in Nashville, so it was close. It's in Los Angeles this year. I'm not gonna go, okay? It costs too much. But there are some times when we do have to move one. One doesn't really matter. We just wanna try to make sure that the public has a set date, a set time where you want to keep that open line of communication
Right.
between this school board and the community,
I understood.
you know, but
Okay.
I think you gotta,
We have a motion on the
Yes,
table.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am. That worked. That worked.
yeah, I think you
And we
got
have a second, yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor? Okay. So we're third week at 6 p.m. Okay, next on the agenda, we have the public records and duty under law.
Let me go ahead and pass these out to you all, and I think they're in order from the bottom up. And yours is on the bottom, and I think Donna's is on the bottom, and I think they go, yeah, I know. Of course, this is just a proof of receipt, and what we will do is tomorrow, I will try to make sure we get you a booklet emailed to you that talks about open meetings and open records. Just realize that all meetings are open to the public. There are basically times that you can go into executive session to discuss personnel matters, land acquisition. There's about 7 or different subsections of KRS that allows you to go into executive session to discuss matters that may involve personnel or involve sensitive matters that do not need to be discussed in a public setting. Other than that, everything is open to the public. Any decisions you make inside of executive session has to come out, and the board does have to create a vote on that in order for anything in executive session to carry any weight. Again, open meetings, we've established a set meeting time and a date each month, and it's very important that we keep a regular schedule in terms of our regular called meetings. There will be times we'll have special called meetings, hopefully not that many of them, but whenever that does persist, just know that we have to give at least 24 hours notice on those. And also, any action that's taken during that time can only be items that's on that agenda. You cannot change an agenda of a special called meeting. So that right there is just your receipt form. I will go ahead and get those out to you if you've seen those before. It just basically is a copy of the KRS of the school law book. If you want to go ahead and sign it, I'll make sure that you have it tomorrow by email, and then we'll have proof of email that you did receive it. And there's really no action on that item.
Okay, next on the agenda, we are going to review the vision, mission, and strategic plan.
I brought you all the pamphlet, and this, of course, is available on the district website. And guys, anything you need in terms of technology, our new members, Jeremy back here, will take care of you in terms of if you need anything in terms of your email accounts and those things. Hopefully we got everything lined out on the distribution list yesterday. It should be up to date. That web page that the school district has is a brand new web page. It's just a little over a year old, and it's jam-packed full of information. And I tell you what, anything we generally do is on that website. It's got district salary schedules. It's got everything on there that you might need. And anytime, if there is anything you need, you don't necessarily, I don't have an issue with the fact that if you need something from the Title I director, and that's Lisa Reese, you can pick up the phone and call Lisa. I'm giving you permission that you have access to any of our district personnel to answer any questions that you want to. It does become a little bit sticky when you get involved in school issues. Those always need to come to me. And then I will always deal with the principals on that line. If you're just requesting information, that's one thing. If there's concerns that parents bring to you or issues in the schools that need to be discussed, you need to bring those to me as superintendent. If there's things, because sometimes we get involved in personnel, and as you know, you just took the oath that really the only personnel decisions as a school board member you make is the hiring of the superintendent and hiring of the board attorney. And so just be conscious of those things. If you're ever in doubt, pick up the phone and call me. You both have my cell phone number. Everybody in the county has my cell phone number. So anytime you need me for anything, then you feel free to call. I did think it'd be appropriate, just take a few minutes and let's just talk about our strategic plan that was developed at the end of 2016. And just talk to you about what the mission and the vision of the school district, what our mission and vision is. And our mission, of course, is that we provide an educational environment through which every child succeeds. And our vision is that we want to become a district of excellence by providing a high-quality education for all students in a safe and supportive environment. And there's 5 goals within this strategic plan. And this is not every single little thing that we do, but these are the big goals, the big pillars that I'm mostly thinking about sleep here. These are the big pillars that we try to make sure that we're addressing as a school district for us to move forward. And you'll notice that goal 1 deals with student excellence. And it talks about novice reduction, students with disabilities, college and career readiness, and attendance. And those are our goals, and they're set through 2020. If you've been paying attention to our board meetings and you've been seeing the press releases, We have made significant strides in novice reduction. We're working on our students with disabilities. It is an area that is, quite frankly, an issue across the state, but bottom line is that we own it. We own our students with disabilities, and we're trying very hard to address the needs of those students. College and career readiness is an area that we have been improving in steadily. And with the construction of the Area Technology Center to take place, we're going to be able to even meet more of the needs of our students moving forward. In attendance, right now, our attendance, last year we were right at the 94% mark. It seems like we've sort of hit a little bit of a roadblock there. Had a great attendance day today, over 95%. It's an effort, and attendance is the #1 factor in student achievement, I can tell you, and we're working hard to improve our attendance every day. It should be off, but evidently wasn't. Our next area, or our goal, is achieve workforce excellence. And this is trying to address the needs of our staff to make sure that we're providing the best work environment possible for our staff. And there's several different things there that, in terms of workforce measures, we want to try to, we've done a lot of surveys to try to address concerns of our workers. And within those surveys, we try to make sure that we try to achieve the 95th percentile of the performance level for each of those measures. Growing teacher leaders, this is something I think we're going to be doing at this next board meeting, is that when we got here, we had no national board certified teachers in the school district. This year, we have had 4. So we've had our first 4 complete. We've got 9 others that are in the program and fully expect them to continue and complete their national board certification, and getting ready to start a 3rd cohort, another group that would be seeking national board certification. It's important that you build leadership capacity within your school district. That way, whenever you have vacancies, you have people that's within your school district that are capable of achieving the results that you would want in those job positions. We're also looking at starting a leadership program for individuals that are interested in principalship. We right now have a deficit of individuals that are seeking school leadership positions in the terms of principalship, and we're hoping to look at beginning a program to address that as well. And then, of course, our classified employment engagement, you know, we have to realize that every person, regardless of their position in school district, is important. Move down to community excellence. We do a lot of surveys with our community, and Teresa Dawes, our community ed director, deals with a bunch of these goals, and I think Jeremy also assists her in this area, and just trying to understand what it is our community wants and needs of our school district, and how we meet the needs of our parents, and having community, parent and community involvement. Financial excellence. We want to make sure that our school district is sound financially, and we do a lot of work in that area to make sure that we're able to meet the needs of our students, because the most important thing we do is the money that we have is spent for students and student achievement.
Years ago, that'd be me. That guy's getting on.
That's why they wouldn't let them play
Sorry.
You saved them.
Huh?
You saved those kids.
Maybe.
I think the coach is getting them.
But there are some good things that's going on right now in finances is that we've just started a program with our maintenance and custodial staff to try to address, you know, sometimes the worst thing we do as a school district, we hire somebody and say, hey, we hired you as a custodian, here's your cart, go clean. And, you know, we don't teach them how to clean, we don't teach them the proper ways to do that. We have just started a program with Hilliard and Lyons, not Hilliard and Lyons, but Hilliard's, which is our, it's funny that our fiscal agent and our janitorial suppliers got the same first name, but we started a program with them where they're going to come in and conduct trainings with our custodians, and we're going to try to bring cleaning into the 21st century. You know, and along with that is to also look at, to try to have savings in that area. Again, every penny we can save in terms of maintenance and custodial is money that we can use to buy instructional supplies for our kids. And the one thing that this board should be very proud about is this student computer implementation financial plan, the one-to-one computer devices. And because of the new Gear Up grant, we're going to actually be 1 full year ahead of schedule. Next year, all students, grades 7 through 12, will have computer devices, their own personal computer device. And we've also, out of the money that we set aside, we hire the instructor that does the preliminary instruction for how to use those computers. Our teachers have been undergoing training on how to implement those devices and use them in their classrooms. We actually have a program that we can track the use of each computer. We know how many computers are being used, when they're being used, how they're being used. There's software that tells us if they're in the wrong place, they're not where they're supposed to be. We can monitor all that. So there's a lot of safeguards to that, but this is a great initiative to move instruction into the new century. So it is really something that we're proud of, and something this board should be proud of, because we made that sacrifice. And finally, the fifth goal is to achieve operation excellence and infrastructure excellence. Trying to put in systems to monitor transportation costs. And as you know, part of our plan moving forward is to build a new bus garage, and as part of building that new bus garage will be the implementation of a new inventory tracking system that will track what comes into that building, what goes out of that building. Trying to modernize our bus fleet because the newer buses you have, the less maintenance that you're going to have on those buses, and we have really done a good job updating. We're about at the point now we're about 50% complete in refurbishing our bus fleet over the last 4 years. Safety upgrades, just with the new construction projects, think about your new secure entrance at Estill Springs. You already had that at West Irvin. We have done the same thing at South Irvin to secure the front of that building. We've got a new voice over IP phone system district-wide now that replaces a phone system that we were one lightning strike away from. If something had happened to it, we couldn't have replaced it because it was old and antiquated. We're about to work the bugs out of that. I think everybody's about to get past some of it. We're still having a few issues, but we'll figure it out. New security camera upgrades, the hiring of our new SRO and our district safety director is, in my opinion, you know, a safety upgrade. And then finally, energy conservation. As you look at your energy reports that you'll receive, we receive those every quarter. It's amazing to see the amount of energy reduction that we have at Estill Springs. Because of the new HVAC system and the geothermal system, and we constantly monitor that. And we've got a group coming in here in the next 2 weeks to be looking at the high school. We really want to look at that high school. We felt like the energy usage there is a little bit higher than it should be. Jeremy is our energy manager as well, and he keeps track of that stuff. So again, all of these things go together to create a good school system. And ultimately, the final goal is of course, the product that we get when we have a student who graduates from Estill County High School. So a lot of good things going on. If there's any questions about these or any other initiatives, we'll be talking about that. And here y'all get baptized by fire right off the bat. The January board meeting is that we're going to approve a draft budget for next school year. We have to, 6 months ahead of time, approve a draft budget. So Angie is currently working on that. We're meeting on Monday to talk about draft budget a little bit, do some final I guess, tweaks to that budget to get it ready for you all, and it'll be coming at you here pretty quick. But does anybody have any questions about the strategic plan and any of the goals, or any other questions you may have? And if you don't have them now, you can always come back and we can, I can get you whatever information that you need.
I have one,
Yes, sir.
if it's okay to, I know I'm trying to occupy the way it's supposed to work. I know it's supposed to be on the agenda, but you asked, so I'm gonna
Okay.
ask. So as far as the safety upgrades that we have done, that you all have been backing, so there's a new one at South Irvin, you said? And
Yes,
there's one at Estill Springs.
Estill Springs, of course, is brand new because of the construction project. South Irvin now has the ability that we can lock the classroom wing. So anybody that's admitted to the front lobby of the building, the classroom wing is locked. They all have to come through the office there.
Gotcha.
Still got a few little things to do there, but it's a lot safer than it was at one time. West Irvin, of course, was brand new and already like that. All of our buildings have secure entrances. Need to do a little bit of work at the middle school. We're trying to get an inside barrier put there so that once somebody does enter into that little lobby area where the office is at, Brian, that they can't go any further
Right.
than right there. Trying to find companies that will do that and get them in here has been an issue so far. But I have a company that's supposed to be calling me. And then, of course, Estill County High School. You take right now, you know, we've checked Estill Springs, we've checked that box off the list. The Area Technology Center, that box is being checked off the list. We have a new bus garage that's going to be built. That's been checked off the list. So the next major item is Estill County High School. Hopefully we're going to do the 7th and final renovation of that high school. There's been 6 renovations on it over time, trying to get it up to speed. We're hoping to do the last one, which will be that, and we're going to work on that entrance at the high school because they really do not have a secure vestibule right now. Once you let somebody in, they're in.
Right.
But they still have to buzz in at the door. They just can't come in.
Right.
And there's a lot of upgrades there at the high school in terms of it does not have an alarm system.
Right.
You know, those automatic door locks, how people enter that building. We've upgraded security cameras and stuff there over the last little bit in the final phase of the security camera upgrade there. So there's been a lot of
Upgrades,
money
sounds
spent
like.
on security. My guess is if you want to count the phone system itself, the phone system was over $50,000 in that round. We're spending.
That wasn't,
Right. I understand.
probably total district-wide was probably about 150.
Yeah,
Wow.
we've spent $150,000 on the phone system. I mean, we're spending probably somewhere in the neighborhood of $30,000 on security camera
Exactly.
upgrades.
Tinted glass, so
Gotcha.
people can't see in the entrances.
So there's been a lot of money spent on safety.
Right.
And now with the hiring of our new safety director and SRO, which I need to discuss with you all in executive session on a personnel thing, just getting your all's approval on something. He is on staff now, and I noticed our new sheriff today was in the school zone helping us with traffic, and I think we're gonna get a lot of cooperation out of our new sheriff in terms of providing SRO for our elementary schools. It's not necessarily gonna be somebody full-time, but we're gonna have somebody that's gonna be dedicated to our school district. We're trying to work out a schedule, but we're asking for about 10 hours a week that they can spend about 10 hours at our 3 elementary schools. If the sheriff's department will help us take care of our elementary schools, and our new officer will take care of the middle and high school, and it doesn't mean he won't be involved, be working everywhere, because
Right,
he
I
also
understand.
has district safety director as that overall arching title.
Right.
But the sheriff has been very helpful in his first few days in office, and today again was his first day, our first day back school, and he was out there trying to assist with traffic today. So I think we have better days ahead when it comes to school safety, and we'll be able to meet the needs whenever we have some type of call now. We're gonna have people that are gonna be able to respond.
Good deal.
Okay.
Thanks for answering. I appreciate it.
Okay. Next on the agenda, we have facilities, and we have an update of KDE preliminary site approval.
Greg Dunbar, who's in charge of facilities at KDE, he's trying to schedule a time to get down here. He usually comes and does a site visit to give preliminary approval of that site purchase. Again, realizing that we're buying a tract of property that is a lot bigger than we needed for the building of a bus garage. But the thought process behind that, if you all have watched the meetings or if you've been here at the meetings, you know that the thought process has been is that that purchase of that property, as long as future boards will hang on to it and not sell it, will set us up to have the ability to meet the needs of our school district for the next 50 years when it comes to facilities. And that's the goal of that. And you have information in your packet, Brian, from last time, possibilities of what we can use.
Go through.
You have possibilities of what we can use that piece of property for. You just put a new roof on that middle school, but, you know, the middle school, we know what the limits of the middle school is because of the pyrite that it was built on.
Right.
That building is safe. It's still going to be safe for another 15 or 20 years, but probably 20 years from now, you're not going to want to spend $7 or $8 million to renovate a building that has foundation problems. So, you know, you need somewhere to build a middle school. Now you've got it. You've got the land to build a middle school. You may not be on the board. I definitely won't be the superintendent at that time. I hope I'm old enough to see a new middle school built at some point in time. But 30 years from now, Estill Springs, you'll need a new elementary school. This piece of property will allow for a new elementary school to be built as well as meeting the needs for a bus garage. So this new purchase will allow us to set the school district up for years to come, and you won't have to be going out here and trying to buy a piece of property.
Well, you have to remind everybody we're landlocked. We looked
Yeah.
everywhere trying to find property.
Yeah. And had a difficult time every time that, we looked at a couple tracts of land that was 10 acres or less that was more expensive than what we paid for 120. So the bottom line is that we have been able to, I believe, set our school system up for the future in terms of their facility needs. I just feel good about that. KD still wants to come down. They want to sort of take the tour. We'll do that. I mean, they're not fussing at us too hard. They've just got hoops that they've got to follow, and we want to make sure we follow all those hoops as well. If we hadn't followed those hoops, then we would have been in the middle of building a bus garage at the industrial park, and we'd been in big time trouble because of the foundation issues that was going to happen there. So that's why you jump these hoops. That's why you do the things they request you to do to make sure that you don't have trouble. So that's sort of the update. Should happen. If it don't happen next week, it'll happen the following week. It'll happen here before the board meeting. And hopefully I'll have a letter by then, and then we'll have to start checking off these boxes of the different things. So that's just an update.
Okay. Next next we have authorize Ross Tarrant, our architects, to solicit proposals for a property survey of the proposed site.
And this is just to solicit proposals. You're not approving a survey by any company at this point in time. But in order to be able to do that, they've got to have a topographical survey, to be able to determine what, without that, they can't determine how much land has to be moved in order to have a building site and all those different things. So we can take care of all this with one thing. Just realize, you're talking about over 120 acres of property. The survey is probably going to be a little bit more expensive sometimes than you would think. We're not surveying a 10-acre tract, so just realize that. But they just want to start soliciting proposals for that. And of course, I have to bring those back to you, or they'll bring those back to us, and they'll get the best proposals that they can. Usually they ask for 3 to 5 different firms to submit a proposal on what it would cost. And in part of that, we'll try to make sure that all of those sections of property that's being bought, there's like 6 different tracts that make up this piece of property. We'll make sure that all those tracts are on one single deed. And because we're in the middle right now of requesting proposals for a survey to be done at West Urban, and there's 4 different tracts over there, we believe. It needs to be consolidated under one deed to where we know what we have and where our property lines are at. So we'll do that with this process as well. So you're just giving me permission to go ahead and tell Ross Tarrant, go at it, get us the proposals.
I'll make that motion.
Okay. We have a motion. Do we have a second? Okay. Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Okay. So next we would authorize Ross Tarrant to solicit proposals for the geotechnical investigation.
Now, this is where they'll actually come in and they'll do some drillings, take core samples of the property to make sure that wherever we're proposing building these particular buildings, that they're sound property and we don't have any issues. It also comes up, like for instance, if they do a core drill and they find out that we're on pyritic shell, that lets them know that what they have to do to protect the foundation of that building. It's not the fact you can't build on pyritic shell, but if you're going to build on it, you better take the steps necessary to keep it dry, because you don't have a problem until it gets wet. When it gets wet, that's when it starts expanding. That's the problem that you have at the middle school. That's why you've had so much movement with that building. The high school's built on the same pyritic shell, but we don't have the same issues because precautions was taken to make sure that it did not become an issue with the foundation of the last renovation at the high school. So that's what they want to do. They're going to come in and they're going to look at, and again, you had the drawing last time that showed 2 possible places for the bus garage. They would do a couple of test bores in each of those areas. There's also a area that's designated maybe as a possible athletic facility, to include a new track and soccer and football stadium and tennis courts. They'll do a couple drillings at that area to check that. And while we're at it, we'll do a couple drillings where a proposed middle school or high school would go at one time. Like I said, 30 years from now, somebody will make a decision. You may decide to build, this board may decide to build a new high school and move the middle school into the current high school. Whatever they want to do at that time, whatever's the most feasible will work. It may be that you want to build a new middle school, high school combination based on your student population. You just don't know. But where that building is proposed to go, they just want to do a couple of test drills there. So they're going to do 6 to 8. Shouldn't be that expensive, but it gives them an idea of what's there. And we want to make sure that what's there we know up front, because that does impact your BG1s and the foundations of those buildings, okay? So my recommendation is that we would approve those proposals for a geotechnical survey.
Do we have a motion?
I make a motion that we approve for them to do the investigation.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Okay. Next on the agenda, we are to authorize the superintendent to obtain a letter from attorney indicating fee simple title may be obtained.
Yes, this is the next big hurdle, making sure that there are no liens on the property. Our previous attorney did an investigation, and I've not spoken to him yet, but he may be willing to provide that letter to us. Although we've actually probably not done a title search, which probably is what's going to take place there and need to take place there. One of the things you're going to do in January is possibly look at hiring a board attorney. And we're going to have to use that attorney in some of this stuff in terms of doing a title search. We believe that based on the documentation we were given, we know that when this property changed hands several years ago in a will and testament, that at that point in time, there was no liens that showed up for the previous 30 years. I think they do a title search back for 30 years on those items, and I don't hold me to 30 years, but I'm pretty sure that's what Jason told us at that time. We've spoken to both landowners, and they're not aware of any type of deal that they may have done in terms of mineral rights, and that's what you get into here. A lot of times in eastern Kentucky, property owners have sold off the mineral rights to their property, and you don't want to end up with a building there and all of a sudden 20 years from now somebody says that there's a seam of coal under that building and we want to mine it. So you got to make sure that you have clear property rights. Thank God that's sort of what held up the industrial park. We couldn't get the property rights, and then when the owner of that property said, yeah, we'll give you the property rights, we did the geotech survey and found out doesn't matter, we didn't need to do it anyway. So it's very important to make sure we got a clear title, and KD is not going to let us do that. I will talk to Jason with your all's permission. I think Jason would still probably provide that for us, but we may have to have the new attorney conduct a title search for that. So it's just giving me permission to talk to the attorney and go ahead and get that process in motion.
Okay.
That's my recommendation.
Do we have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Okay. We have a motion. Do we have a second? Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? She's asleep. Okay. Authorize the superintendent to obtain current assessed value classification of the proposed site by the PBA.
I did drop in and spoke with Jeff Hicks today, and he and I are going to get together this coming week. And we'll get the value of the assessed property of that. That also can become an issue in terms of what the assessed value of the property is, and based on what we're purchasing the property for. I really don't think it will become an issue, but I will work with Jeff over the next few weeks and try to get that. There is no zoning in our county that I'm aware of. Whether you believe there should be or not, I know that there's not. So we shouldn't have problems in terms of any type of classification of the site in terms of zoning issues. But we do need to try to get a fair market value. May come down at some point in time that we'll have to have an appraisal, which is something you do when you purchase property as an individual. So we may very well have to do the same thing and work with an appraiser. But I will take care of that the next few weeks as long as you all have no issues with me talking to Jeff Hicks at the PBA.
Do we have a motion? We have a motion. Do we have a second? Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Okay.
I mean, as far as a timeline, I spoke to the real estate agent today. They're still very patient. They understand we have to jump the hoops. Everything is fine with them. And again, the owners have said that they are very pleased that they are able to help the school system in this situation. And of course, I feel really good about it. They're still very pleased and very patient. They're going to allow us the time that we need to make the right decisions, do the right things. But hopefully here, maybe we can have this wrapped up sometime by the March meeting at the latest. Might be able to do it quicker than that, but we'll see how it goes.
Okay, next on the agenda, we have closed session, so we'll need a motion to go into closed session.
I make the motion to go into closed session.
Do we have a second? Any discussion? All in favor? All right.
And I can tell y'all up front,